American.
Guilty.
Huh. Said car is closed.
Former Marine and Defense Intelligence Agency spy Robert McCall now lives in a diverse apartment complex in urban Massachusetts. McCall works as a Lyft driver and assists the less fortunate with the help of his friend, Susan Plummer. McCall anonymously travels to Istanbul by train to retrieve a local bookstore owner's daughter who was kidnapped by her father. McCall also mercilessly beats a group of men for drugging and sexually assaulting an intern who he took to the hospital to have her stomach pumped. McCall also helps Sam Rubinstein, an elderly Holocaust survivor who was looking for a painting of his sister. The two siblings were separated when they were transported to different camps by the Nazis. But the painting is found to be auctioned off, and Sam cannot prove that he owns the painting. After discovering that the apartment courtyard has been vandalized, McCall accepts an offer from Miles Whitaker, a young resident with an artistic but troubled background, to repaint the walls. One day, Susan and DA operative Dave York, McCall's former teammate, are called to investigate an apparent murder-suicide of an agent and his wife in Brussels. When the two agents separate after reaching their hotel, Susan is brutally murdered in an apparent robbery after a violent struggle. After receiving the news of Susan's death, McCall immediately investigates both her death and the case she was investigating. McCall determines that the assailants were hired to kill Susan because they knew on which floor her room was located. McCall also determines, by looking at all the photos and the evidence and the position of the bodies, that the murder-suicide incident into which Susan was looking was, in fact, a murder, and that Susan's death is connected to it. McCall informs York of his findings. During one of his shifts driving, McCall encounters an assailant who attempts to kill him while posing as a passenger. McCall kills the assailant and retrieves his phone to collect information on who sent him. The following morning, McCall visits York's home, appearing to need assistance in breaking through a military-grade encryption on the assailant's phone. However, McCall has already broken the encryption and phones York with the phone. McCall tells York that he knows York ordered a hit on both him and Susan. York admits having done this and divulges that he himself finished off Susan, as the two assailants failed to kill her. York states that Susan would have figured out that he was behind the killing of the agent and his wife in Brussels. York rants about dark choices he and the rest of the teammates made after McCall faked his own death, apparently turning into hitmen, killing targets for a price. McCall meets with the three remaining teammates Resnick, Ari, and Kovac, and threats are exchanged. Resnick and Ari head to Susan's house to kill her husband, Brian. However, McCall intercepts Brian before the team can find him. York and Kovac later infiltrate McCall's apartment, capture Miles, and deduce where McCall will go next. As a hurricane moves in, McCall returns to his seaside hometown and readies himself for York and his team. The town has been evacuated and cordoned off due to the hurricane, but York shoots the state trooper guard to get in. Kovac, Ari, and Resnick go after McCall as York situates himself at the town's watchtower in a sniper's position. Kovac enters a tackle shop and is killed with a harpoon gun. When Ari heads toward the seaside, he is disturbed by pictures of Susan that he sees along the way, catching him off guard. McCall stabs him and leaves him mortally wounded. McCall enters his wife's old bakery to lure in Resnick, who is killed after the flash bang he tossed into the building sets off a trap set by McCall. Enraged, York shoots at his car, which has Miles tied up in the trunk, and uses him as a hostage to lure McCall out, but he runs out of bullets after McCall foils his last shot. With the storm growing heavier, York is knocked down before being confronted by McCall atop the tower. McCall gets the upper hand, stabs York, and shoves him over the edge, killing him. Having landed on the rocky shore, York's body is washed away by the very strong waves caused by the storm. McCall retrieves Miles from the trunk and takes him to his old house to treat his wounds. Back in Massachusetts, Susan's information about Sam's sister's painting helps McCall to reunite Sam with his long-lost sister. Miles finishes repainting the apartment complex, returns to school, and focuses on his art. When designing a superhero on the bus, a commuter asks him what the superhero is like, and Miles describes McCall's role as the Equalizer. McCall, having moved back into his old house, looks out towards the calm sea. Thank you for watching, and if you're new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe.